list of probably 30 or 40 names, but one in particular kept on coming to the very top of my list, and our collective list, in fact, and that was the name Damien Jeter.
One of the early decisions that I had to make as the composer was what kind of sound palette I was going to use for this piece. And while the piece mostly is driven by the drama, and I've written music that sort of supports the drama, there are a few instances where I do evoke the 50s and the 60s. The first is when Richard and Mildred meet at a drag strip. At the top of the scene, I use a guitar, which has sort of to me, a 50s rock vibe. And not too soon after that, there is the meeting of Richard and Mildred at the drag strip, where we sort of just hear them talking to each other. And as their duet goes along, it sort of still has this type of vibe to it, which to me also evokes the 50s. Moving along into the second act, there's a protest scene where I use the guitar again, but this time it has a little bit of a dirtier sound to evoke the rock sounds of the 60s.
And of course, after we were able to come up with a composer, we started coming up with a long list of potential librettists. And one that was at the top of my list was a woman named Jessica Murphy Moo.
Loving versus Virginia is inspired by the lives of Mildred and Richard Loving during a period of time between 1958 and 1967. We wanted to stick to that public record as much as we could in the telling of the opera. We also created a law chorus where the language comes from the actual legal briefings, the laws, the Virginia Integrity Act, the language that was in the warrant for their arrest, the legal briefings and decisions by Judge Bazile. And then we decided to have a moment, a very private, intimate duet where they would have had to in some way work through how they would change their plea. And we have this moment, it's an a cappella moment, it's a very intimate, sort of vulnerable moment for the couple. And that's where I think the public record can meet the music in a really powerful way.
You and me, one family, one day, one
The way that I chose to represent Richard and Mildred is it's just like any other sort of operatic character. I like to focus a lot on the internal struggles, which you hear through the orchestra, but also in their vocal writing as well. The orchestra also represents or symbolizes different parts of the opera. For example, there is a home theme. There is music that represents the law. There's music that represents the sheriff. There's trouble music. So anytime there's a reference to trouble is coming, there's a certain motif that goes along with that. And so to me, it sort of helps with the storytelling so that the audience has another musical way of keeping track of the story.
That's oftentimes what I think the librettist is trying to do. You're trying to write toward the music because it's not the words alone. You're trying to write an opera, and you're trying to find the story that can be told through music. And in some ways it felt like this game of catch, throwing a ball over, he would catch it and he would make something really brilliant. Working with Damien has been an immense pleasure, blessing, inspiration in my life.
Jessica is the consummate collaborator. I have enjoyed working with her so much. I mean, we were friends before, but a project like this, which means so much to both of us, it's really brought us closer together. And I would say during the process of writing the opera with her was really quite easy. Before she wrote any words, before I wrote any notes, we just sat down and we said, okay, what is this story going to be? What is the story that we want to tell? I have to say it is one of the most musical libretti that I've ever read in my life. I don't know if Jessica considers herself to be a musician, but the structure of the libretto made my job very, very easy.